Hello there, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, as always, check in daily, all 3 channels. We were talking about some scary statistics over on Evolutionary, absolutely. And EEARTS, that we were talking about that Mississippi fire and chemical spill. And again, we're going to start by, recovering that because it seems like people are thinking that it's happening, or there was 2 of them, but I don't see any evidence of 2. Maybe there is, but I don't see it. And as we get excited too about these things, sometimes we realize we're talking about something that happened like 8 years ago now too, because people are definitely on edge. There's no way around it.
That's for sure. I mean, they're really keeping us on our toes right now, and we do the best we can to look through everything. And I think there's purposefully going to be a lot of confusion.
Yeah, absolutely. And the kids are playing with their toys, as you could hear in the background. Heart's Home, some people were saying they're having a hard time finding Heart's Home. The easiest way is you just go on the videos. Like this is the scary statistic video. The link's right there. So if we open the link right there, it should come up, and there it does. So there are links on every single video. That should take us to each channel, as well as to Patreon and Ko-Fi and to evolutionaryenergyarts.com. So, right there, please subscribe to our newest channel, Heart's Home. There you go. So I just wanted to share all that with you guys before we go into everything. So recapping this chemical spill that leaks into a creek in DeSoto County, Hernando, Mississippi. It's interesting. It was a chemical spill that resulted from a fire at Schultz Extruded Products, a business located near McCracken Road. The local fire department quickly responded to the fire, right? And they say they got it all cleaned up. No real damage. Don't worry, kids. Don't worry. It's okay. Go back to sleep. Now, whether or not that's the case, we will see, maybe. And again, there's so much chaos that we have out there that we may or may not ever see, may or not ever really know. And so this is that company, Wilhelm Schultz. It's interesting to look at what they're into: oil and gas, power generation, processing, and refining. This is exactly the type of, this has multiple purposes. One, during wartime, this is exactly what you hit. And then the toxicity as well is a big, big thing. This is the location. So this creek flows into this lake, Arcabuda Lake. And, I've actually looked at properties over in this area, as this is a pretty remote area again. I've looked all over the country, though. As anybody that's looking for the ideal spot, you will look everywhere. But there really is no ideal spot, as we see. Here you go. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. We had some intense, severe thunderstorms that ended up turning out at least 9 tornadoes last night. And, the dogs went crazy at about 2:30 a.m. because it sounded like something tried to bang on the house, but it was just basically chairs getting blown around from the wind. The wind got so strong all of a sudden, it was like, whoa, crazy. But at least 8 tornadoes touched down in Oklahoma, several feet of snow in California, as we were talking about. Dust bowl swept through northern Texas. And look at the cars flipped over there. Again, prayers to everybody. I was looking over in Norman, Oklahoma at one time too, in this general area, as I've done research all over the country. And again, Oklahoma, sure, now the tornado alley is shifting a little bit. And, Oklahoma was thought of as the capital of tornadoes in so many ways. Southern Kansas as well, and everything is kind of shifting, but the whole world is going to be going through a massive period of transition as you look at the damage. Thankfully the people escaped, and it always kind of boggles the mind when you see no more roof left, things everywhere. and people escaped. And honestly, I do attribute a lot of that to our guardian angels, because they are very, very real, and we do have what we would call spirit guides and truly guardian angels that are looking out for us and helping us in these times, as that was pretty darn scary.
Yeah, I mean, really, and it does help to sit down for a moment and just place a little bit of protection around yourself, whatever your belief system is. It really doesn't matter. It matters that you believe it, though, that you sit and you surround yourself in a lighted bubble of protection. So, I mean, it seems like that's when some of the strangest things happen, and where we have a lot of near misses, but we're okay, and we might call them miracles, but really it's something that we're creating. We create our own miracles.
We have to ask again, and we shall receive. And we'll be putting up a little thing over on Heart's Home, just a brief little statement, maybe on the shorts, because that's going to be like the practical channel for well, how do I do these things? How do I reach out to my guardian angels? Because you might say guardian angels, and it might feel perfectly okay if you're of a certain persuasion, but then you say spirit guides, and you'd be like, and again, you're referring to beings that are not in the flesh, that are helping us. And there, for every one person, typically there's one or more, and many times way more, people helping on the other side as we navigate through this reality.
Well, it was curious last night because there was a lot of storms going on, and what I was seeing is a lot of, it appeared to be mostly ancestors gathering around their family members in protection. And I can only imagine those were the ones who decided to call their guides and ancestors in to really assist them. But I saw that going on all over the place last night. It was really nice. So we do have a lot of protection if we open the door.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're very aware of the local protection as we've sensed it, seen it. For a few years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something that we have seen time and time again. It just, it's like, oh, wow, how did that happen? It just missed here and it just missed there. Wow. It happens often.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're going to check in on the power. Let's look over California first. You got 42,000 people without power. And over in New Mexico, we get 18,600. Texas right now, 11,775. Over in Oklahoma, 17,451. Up in Missouri, 10,890. And then we go over to Michigan, and there's still 139,000 plus people without power. And of all these places, Michigan to me would be the one that you need the power the most, because obviously it's going to be the coldest. So, CME impacts the Earth, sparking a G3, a strong geomagnetic storm. So, one trend I've seen is where they say, well, CME impact unlikely, or if it hits us, it's going to be a glancing blow and probably not much impact and not much effect. But the reality is, the impact seems to usually happen, and it's usually stronger than what they say. This is, again, part of our awakening here. So, now the one that we had wasn't super strong. It was a magnitude, an M class, a 6.3. Not an X-class flare, but still, when you get this rush of energy coming in these times, again, we do have a lot of variables going on, and we have incredible evolutionary changes going on in our consciousness. And this is what, those that are really awakened to this speak about, think about, and really look at first is the emotional, the psychological, and the spiritual impact of these events that we see. As you see the KP index shooting up over 5 here, up over 6 here, heading towards 7. this is having a big impact on us. And yes, it could result absolutely in intensification of storms. It could result in earthquakes, volcanic activity, all that. But it also is awakening our DNA and turning on things that have been turned off in us by the controllers.
Mm-hmm. Right. And this was curious today because I did look into the sky, and what I saw was a very powerful, beautiful magenta color. And I thought that was really, really interesting how it's magenta. And then if you look to magenta, what does that frequency mean? What does that mean? It's a very, very high vibration. So when I went into that a little bit more, asking about, well, what does this mean for us? They said that we are moving up in vibration. So this is a necessary push, but at the same time, we're going to be pushed. Our boundaries are going to be tinkered with. Our strengths, what we can and cannot do is going to be tested. So as we move up in vibration, all of these things happen, and things can appear very, very difficult, but really we're just rising up into the best part of ourselves. We're rising up and above, and that's what we've been called to do.
We see such a tiny little piece of what's there. Tiny. I mean, look at this. See these two little bars, these two little gray bars right there, that itty bitty little slice, that's all we can see. And yet we understand radio waves are there, X-rays are there, gamma rays are there, the infrared spectrum. We know it's there. It doesn't mean it's not real because we can't see it. And this is the tiny little visible light spectrum that we see. Again, this is our awakening to the fact that we are so much more than what we think. And this is a view of the aurora going on as the geomagnetic K index is up to 7. Ooh, yeah, fun times we are in, absolutely. And there was a new quake. There was actually a few quakes over in Turkey. They're calling it 5.6 over here out of RT. The AFAD said it measured 5.6. The USGS is giving it a 5.2. It knocked down about 20 more buildings that were, teetering on the edge, and at least one person has lost their life. This is what we have now because you have so many buildings that have been damaged. Every time you get one more quake, it pushes another bunch over the edge. It's just like dominoes, as you could see the location. And then there was another 5.0 according to the USGS downgrading service. So here you see teddy bears raining on a football pitch during a match in Turkey. Toys for child survivors of the devastating earthquakes. Oh boy, tough times. Again, we send our prayers over that way. And recent snowfall totals have surpassed 5 feet in some areas. More is on the way. Again, when we're talking about California, when we're talking about Sierra Nevada, intense winter storms. Again, my concern is for the weight. Yeah, sure. There have been, big events in the past. There's just so much more going on in this time. South Africa, you see this tweet, has collapsed. U.S. Embassy is now informing international travelers to stock up prepper style on food and water because of a power crisis. And I was watching one local businessman there, trying to keep everything fresh, so to speak, by running his generator nonstop because there's just no power. A U.S. Embassy issues prepper warning on load shedding, stockpile food and water amid the ongoing power crisis. Potential for riots. This is, again, South Africa, which is a very, very large, significant country. Part of the BRICS group. It's the S in BRICS. As we see snow in Saudi Arabia, and in this particular area, first time in 100 years, as Al Gore's, prophecy has not come to pass, and he's not very accurate, but he's gonna keep going. Hey, he's 75. He's gonna keep going. He's gonna keep giving us those prophecies. And here you have a baby elephant being saved using an excavator. There you go. Give him a little boost. Sometimes the little guys need a boost. As you can see, it was a little landslide there. That was nice. Now we can head back to Mama. He turns around and says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." You want to tell me there's no intelligence there? There's no emotions there? There's perfect understanding. Perfect understanding. What we don't understand is this, and this is Dublin, Ireland in 1897. Does it hit you as strange, all the young men out there? Does that hit you as strange? Boy, there's a lot of kids out there. And, where's all the females for one? I don't know. There is something very, very wrong with our history. There's a tweet out there where Marjorie Taylor Greene is supposedly saying, and I don't know if she really said it or not, that, hey, dinosaurs are the dragons that we have in our legends, and that they were here just a couple thousand years ago, or maybe there's still some out there. Now, a lot of people are laughing at that and saying, see, this is maybe somebody that's going to be running for VP. Craziness. But, is it crazy? Because, there's a lot of things that don't add up. Children Playing on the Beach, 1886, digitally remastered. Hopefully these won't give us copyright strikes. They very well might. This is exactly the type of thing that does. Wanted to just share this because, again, if you look deep, there's all these weird things that happen with kids and cabbages. Yeah. At the time of World's Fairs, whatever happened to World's Fairs? I mean, World's Fairs were huge, and I'm going to be 58 this year, and I do remember my aunts who, died in their 90s, mid 90s, and my mom, and talking about World's Fairs and all that, how grand they were. Again, these are people that were born around 1890s. So they grew up with a totally different world. And then I actually had a favorite uncle that was orphaned and one of like 8, and had to kind of work, and all these stories that we hear of, support himself as a little guy, like literally this little, working. The history is not what we're told, and there's actually even these postcards and paintings that talk about repopulation. What really happened? You got people thinking of the 1800s cloning and, watering kids coming out of cabbages. It's just kind of crazy. What's really up with all this? It's fascinating to go down this rabbit hole. We have a book that I ordered, and it's all the postcards I think you could probably round up, put into one book, and we'll share it with you guys. There's something to this because they were also, pushing the incubators at these world fairs, and we've talked about Homo sapiens and how we've been told that this is the last generation or two of Homo sapiens. Well, what if this revision's going on every couple hundred years?
Mm-hmm. When I hear them say how old something is, like it's 1.52 trillion years old, I don't know. It's never really sat right with me. and once you get a grasp on and understand that time doesn't exist anyway, then it's like, how can you guys even come up with these things? But they do, because they need us to have a history that we believe in. So they teach us whatever they want to teach us from a very, very young age. And really, from what I'm seeing more and more and more, you only know what you've experienced. I mean, you only know what you're going through. You're really only qualified to teach what you're dealing with. But they've spent a lot of time and money and effort on teaching us things that is really, think about it. I mean, it all benefits them. It all benefits the controllers. Every last little drop of information. So what are we left with? Well, we're left with having to understand we have to do our own research, trust what we believe, find ourselves inside, and find out what makes sense to us, because we're the most important ones.
Yeah. talked about this before, and as you can see over here in this corner, the postman literally bringing babies. What the heck? Where does this come from? You know, it's just crazy. It's just craziness, but there's something really there. Something there. As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Again, the links are in every single video. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.